Hello and welcome to our Think Law video series. Today I'm joined by my colleague Aoife Kernan to explore this year's company law compliance obligations, some new filing requirements and other topical issues in the company law arena. Aoife, as we know, most Irish companies have filing obligations rapidly approaching and there are some new requirements this year. Can you tell us about that?
Thanks, Sal. Most companies with the year end of December 2022 will be due to file their financial statements in the CRO by the end of November. What's new this year is the requirement for a director's PPSN to be filed with the annual return. So the obvious question is, what if a director does not have a PPSN? They then use their RBO number or apply to the CRO for an identified person's number.
That's a game changer then in terms of a director having to provide their PPSN number to be specifically identified with a company. How's all that progressing, and can we expect delays when it comes to filing this year?
It certainly is a game changer and will hopefully reduce the duplication of director information on the CRO and reduce the risk of director identity theft. One area of concern is if the information provided for that director on the annual return does not match the information on the Department of Social Protection, the annual return will be rejected and is at risk of being late. As this is the first year, we're hearing plenty of examples of rejections of filings due to a mismatch of information with the Department of Social Protection. So our recommendation to directors or to companies is to file as soon as possible this year and well in advance of the November 27 deadline.
That sounds like some sound advice. Aoife and the company's registration office have been quite busy. Recently they published their 2022 annual report. Are there any particular highlights from it?
Probably the most interesting is that the first time since COVID, the CRO have recommenced enforcement action against those companies most out of date with their annual return filing obligations. So again, the advice to those companies is to bring their annual return filings up to date as soon as possible. Another interesting fact is that about 94% of all forms filed in the CRO have been filed electronically, and this is in line with the CRO policy to move towards mandatory electronic filing.
There's also been some developments on public access to beneficial ownership information. Tell us about that.
This goes back to November last year, where there was a ruling by the Court of Justice of the European Union which resulted in public access to the Central Register in Ireland being denied and then restricted to designated persons only. Since then, a new statutory instrument has been implemented and access is now limited to those only who can demonstrate they have a legitimate interest in accessing beneficial ownership information.
That's quite a development in that area, as the original aim, I think, was to improve corporate transparency. And finally, not long after the press identified a scheme encouraging people to become directors of companies that they knew nothing about, the Corporate Enforcement Authority issued some guidance on factors to consider before becoming a director. Did anything stand out to you in that guidance?
Firstly, it's important to note from the moment an individual becomes a director of a company, they assume significant legal duties and obligations, and any breach in those duties could lead to the personal liability of the debts of the company, could lead to restriction, damage to reputation, and at worst, criminal conviction. The CEA are urging any individual's approach to be a director of a company to, at a minimum, understand their duties, understand the business and the ownership structure of the company and the arrangements in place for holding directors' meetings and for the maintenance of accounting records, statutory records and registers.
A clear warning there, Aoife, from the CEA on the perils of becoming a director. Thank you for your time today. Aoife and I hope you enjoyed our discussions today and that it gave you an insight into this year's company law obligations. KPMG's Law's full suite of Think Law videos is available on our website.